Guten Morgen, meine Damen und Herren, und eine herzliche Willkommen für die letzte Runde von RMC Clubsport hier in Kerpen. Leider ist unser normaler Sprecher nicht hier, aber mein Name ist Alex Goldschmidt, der Sprecher von der Euro-Trophy und auch bei der BNL Karting Series. So ja, ich bin schon hier. So jetzt wechselte ich auf Englisch für die ganzen Tage, aber vielleicht können wir die Beste tun, was wir können. So good morning, everybody, and those watching on the live stream at home. A very warm, a very wet welcome. It's been throughout the weekend for here at Kerpen for the final round of the Rotax Max Challenge Club Sport event. So we have 2 races per category throughout the day, where we should be completing at around about sort of 4 o'clock this afternoon local time. And we are very shortly getting underway with our first of 2 Micromax races. So for those that were watching on the live stream just recently, there was a video for what's coming up for the Euro Trophy next season, with a Winter Cup now being involved for the first time in the 3rd year of the championships running. So we now get to the first of our two Micromax races. They'll be taking place throughout the morning. So on pole position, the number 13 of Montego Massen, Moritz Wolber is alongside in the 15 on the front row. Alexander Klugel and Leon Vacula, that is row 2. Tom Reja and Niklas Casarino, that is row 3, ahead of David Giroux and Lennox Meyer. Mika Trapp and Maximilian Pilch round out the top 10. They're followed by Noah Janssen, Matti Klassen, Hugo Gettel, Semel Bayati, Marlon Schaufler, Maxim Becker, Christos Malakos, and Gabriel Hoffmann. That's an 18-strong grid. So they've just gone onto the sighting lap. Now it's time for the formation, as the Rotax are all set to get things underway here on Sunday, the 3rd of November. So with the damp and greasy track out there, it's going to be interesting to see how the racing develops and how the track evolves throughout the course of the day, as these are our youngest competitors here. And one of the 6 classes that also took part in the Rotax Max Challenge Grand Finals at Sarno at the Circuito Internazionale Napoli just over a week ago. So the 18 drivers now starting to get themselves into the 2x2 rolling start formation. So it's Maassen, Wolber, Klugel, Vacula, Reja, Casarino, Giroux, Meyer, Trapp and Pilch. That is the top 10. Nicely organised are the 18 drivers, 9 rows of competitors set to get their first of 2 races underway. So the anticipation starts building as they come through the Schumacher chicane, round the final corner. The Rotax engines now get up some pace, and we go racing for the first time today. Everyone makes it through the sweeping right-hander into turn 1 very, very cleanly. And there is a straggler at the back part of the field. So, drivers making their way through. A few overtakes, a few side-by-sides there, going through into the infield part of the circuit. And from what I've already seen just by the first couple of moments of this race, of just how dynamically sweeping this circuit at Kerpen is, as the drivers will now really pick up the pace and get up to speed, as we've already had the number 95 of Gabriel Hoffmann retire on the very first lap of this race. So it wasn't a very well-sounding Rotax engine, but it looks like that was a full start as deemed by race control. So we reset the clocks for 9 minutes. So we now are down to 17 competitors. Once again, the Micromax competitors showcasing that they can get themselves ready to go at a moment's notice as they head through the final sector here at Kerpen. So we reset for one more time. Let's see if it's second time around as they come through towards the final corner here at Kerpen. They go into the tram lines. That's a bit more neatly organised this time. The Rotax engines roaring to life. And already, Klugel was trying to go up the inside into turn 1 maybe. And we've had a spinner already. And there's one kart that's gone grass tracking through turn 1. One driver now regains... Oh, there's... Now, someone went very sideways. That was the number 13 of Montego Massen there, going sideways and collected another kart, but managed to keep it going. So already, someone is definitely sprinting away into the distance, as we have 8 minutes and 31 seconds left to go in this race. The drivers will still have to watch out for the treacherous conditions. And this now gives them a chance to stretch the legs on the Rotax racing engines as they come through the sweeping left, now head towards the Schumacher chicane. And there is a bit of a distinct advantage of the driver that is currently out in front. And as they cross the start-finish line, that is the number 80 of Alexander Klugel. Klugel has now sprinted away and is ahead of Montego Masson, who's kept second at the moment. Lennox Meyer up into third place. Tom Reger, Maximilian Pilch, they've all made up places. And it looks like we've got David Giroux as well, and Maxim Becker look to be the ones at the tail end of the field. So Klugel had an advantage of just over 1.1 seconds after the first lap of action here. And some great little battles starting to present themselves around about from sort of 6th onwards, and maybe towards the back part of the field. Und Max, ich habe eine Gäste hier im Sprecherbüro. Max Reis, herzlich willkommen. Gibt es einen Überblick über diese Klasse?
Ja, also von dem Rennen jetzt, oder?
Ja, von dem Rennen jetzt. Gib mir einen Überblick über was hast du gesehen im Moment?
Ja, also ich habe gesehen, dass sich in der ersten Kurve viele gedreht haben und es wurden auch ein paar rausgekegelt. Und ja, die probieren jetzt auch wieder alle aufzuholen. Zum Beispiel der Moritz Wolber, der ist jetzt auch nach hinten gefallen und probiert jetzt auch das Feld aufzuholen. Und ja, Alexander Klugel kann sich im Moment sehr gut absetzen und hat sehr viel Vorsprung.
Okay, danke Max. Wir werden mit Max ein bisschen mehr heute Morgen sprechen über die Mikro- und der Minimax-Klasse. So back into English, and Alexander Klugel has now got a lead of 1.5 seconds over Montego Masson in the number 13, who's currently occupying second position. Maximilian Pilch has got past Niklas Casarino for 4th place, whereas Mika Trapp and Noah Janssen have also made positional gains up to 11th and 12th respectively. As you can just see, for those watching on the live stream, Matti Klassen down in 15th, absolutely hustling the cart through the corners. And I'm just keeping an eye on the lap times at the minute, that Masson is about 0.3 of a second, 0.3 of a second slower than Klugel, who is pulling away, or trying to, and hasn't, because Masson has actually just gone quicker. That's a 1:03.290. But in the meantime, Klugel has also got the fastest lap of the race at the minute, to 1:03.205. So with the track still being, the sun is starting to glint off of the surface as they head into corner one, as it looks like Leon Vacula is trying to battle with Semel Bayati for 7th place. And they've just, I think they've, it looks like Vacula's just made the move, which looks to be the case. So at the moment, the entire field separated by just over 20.4 seconds. 5 minutes and 8 seconds left remaining on the clock in the first of two Micro Max races. The second one will get underway at around about just before 1 o'clock this afternoon, as there are some great battles coming along, and one of them looks to be, I've just seen the 88, that's Tom Reger, I think being chased down by Niklas Casarino, as Klugel goes past the finish line, and the gap now was 1.4 seconds, it's now up to just over 1.5. So Lennox Meyer, Maximilian Pilch, Tom Reger, that's the top 5 at the moment, but Reger is only just under 0.4 of a second ahead, as there's a great battle a little bit further back. Looks like Norris Wolber was going up the inside of Morin Schaufler for P10. And, oh, that's a little bit sideways there. And I think that was the number 15 of Wolber, who's been battling away for P10. And now he's getting swallowed up by the likes of Janssen, Malakos and Goethel. So, Max, ein bisschen ein spannendes Rennen bei der Mikro-Max-Klasse im Moment, denkst du?
Ja, im Moment kämpfen nicht so viele, außer hier bei Moritz Wolber. Und ja, ist aber auch sehr ein spannendes Rennen, finde ich. Ziemlich da vorne, der Alexander hat jetzt schon richtig viel Abstand. Wird schwer, dass der Montego da noch drankommt. Aber ja, das Feld hat sich ein bisschen auseinandergezogen und ja, wird noch ein paar Überholmöglichkeiten geben, aber jetzt auch nicht mehr so viel, weil es sind ja nur noch 3 Minuten.
Okay, danke Max. So back to the action, 3 minutes and 39 seconds. Nice move up the inside. That is for a positional change, and that is just behind the number 50. That is Leon Vacula. So I think that is that Mika Trapp's gone up the inside of Semel Bayati in the number 20 through the final corner, as there's more toing and froing down towards the back part of the field. Oh, there's a clatter in, and that looks to be Mika Trapp that's just been pushed aside. But Trapp manages to get back out of the kitty litter, out of the gravel, and back onto the circuit, and not quite happy about what's just transpired. So we're coming into the last 180 seconds, and some of the Micromax drivers at the back of the field are swarming all over each other like a pack of hornets. So it's going to be very interesting how, because at the moment Alexander Klugel's lead is quite immense at the moment. It was 2.4 seconds last time around, but it looks like Marston's got the bit between the teeth and comes across the start-finish line. And it's round about the same, 2.383 seconds between first and second position. As Lennox Meyer, Maximilian Pilch and Tom Hager, that completes the top five, all separated by just over 9.2 seconds. Casarino's trying to chase down Hager as well. And there's the battle on screen at the moment, as Casarino definitely is going to have the slipstream advantage as they come through the flat left, where the drivers have got the foot to the floor. And it looks like we have had a yellow flag situation a little bit further towards the infield of the circuit as we go into the last couple of moments. Some more overtakes. And there is a train of four, and that looks to be in the middle of that. That is the 77 of Marlon Schaufler, who's just been pounced on by Moritz Wolber there. That is for P11. As Klugel just streaking away into the distance ahead of Marson. And the gap now nearly 2.5 seconds with just over 90 on the clock, 90 seconds still to go. So Klugel leads from Massen, Meyer, Pilch, Reger, Casarino, Vacula, Bayati. And now that looks to be Mika Trapp, who's just gone across the line in P10, having been passed by Noah Janssen in the 31 for 9th position. Moritz Wolber, great move up the inside of Moritz Schaufler in the 77 for P11 as they are still battling for what is just outside of the top 10. We've got just under a minute remaining in this race. And Klugel, I think, has done the business quite early on. So Max, die Führung von Alexander Klugel, die Vorsprung, das hat, in die Nähe von 2,5 Sekunden, das ist eine gute Rennen für ihn, ne?
Ja, er hat sich sehr gut abgesetzt, also er konnte auch sauber fahren, er hat jetzt nicht so viele Fehler gemacht. Wird halt jetzt schwer für Montego Marson nochmal ranzukommen. Also ich denke nicht, dass Alexander hier noch ein paar Fehler macht, aber ja, man weiß es nie. Es kann ja auch noch viel passieren.
Und die Strecke, es ist noch ein bisschen nass, wir haben voller Regen gestern, aber es wird ein bisschen eng für die Fahrer bei den Grip, bei den Reifen, denkst du?
Ja, es ist auch immer schwer zu sagen, fährt man jetzt Regen oder fährt man trocken. Und je nachdem, also wenn es jetzt nochmal anfangen würde zu regnen, wird es ja mehr Sinn machen, mit den Regenreifen zu fahren. Aber das kann man natürlich nie wissen.
Danke, Max. So I've just seen a great move from Casarino up the inside of Tom Hager for P5, as we now are on to the penultimate lap of this race. Every single race today will be a timed race plus an additional lap. And Klugel's lead has been absolutely decimated by Montego Masson. And it was around 2.5 seconds. It's now being truncated down to 1.834. As Klugel still trying to keep clean and just keep going. So Klugel and Marson now go on to the final lap of this race, as does Meyer, Pilch, then Casarino, Reger, Vacula. And it's definitely a slipstream fest between Noah Janssen, who tries to go up the inside of Mika Trapp for what was 9th position, but Trapp still keeps ahead. And it's still a battle between them. So Trapp still ahead of Janssen for P9. I'm just keeping an eye out for Alexander Klugel, who is now heading into the final part of the circuit. Through the left-hander, goes a little bit sideways there, but still manages to keep it through. Goes through the Schumacher chicane for the final time. And round the final corner comes the number 80 of Alexander Klugel, who takes the victory in the first Micromax race of the day and celebrates with one hand off the wheel. His lead ahead of Montego Masson, who takes second place, was 1.527 seconds. Looks like Lennox Meyer, I believe, has taken P3 ahead of Maximilian Pilch. Niklas Casarino had a great battle right up until the dying moments ahead of with the 88 of Tom Hager, so they round out the top 6. Leon Vakula, Semil Bayati, Mika Trapp and Noah Janssen round out the top 10. Max, das war eine gute Rennen Start dieses Tages, aber wir können etwas ein bisschen anders sehen, vielleicht ein bisschen später, oder?
Ja, also ich denke, das Rennen ist noch sehr ausbaufähig. Am Anfang, ich weiß ja nicht, vielleicht gibt es da noch eine Strafe für Montego Maaßen, weil er da den Tom Muller und Tom Reger ein bisschen ausgeschoben hat. Und ja, mal gucken jetzt.
So all results are considered as provisional, pending any technical and sporting checks post-race. So, our first Micromax race has a winner, and it's the number 80 of Alexander Klugel. Montego Maaßen takes second by just under 1.5 seconds behind Klugel, with Meyer, Pilch, Casarino having a great battle with Tom Reger for P5, with the number 12 coming ahead of the 88. Leon Vakula in the 50 is 7th, ahead of Semil Bayati, Mika Trapp and Noah Janssen in the numbers 18 and 31 respectively, rounding out the top 10. Completing the order, it's Moritz Volber, David Giroux, Maren Schaufler, Christos Malakos, Matti Klaassen, Hugo Gettel, Maxim Becker, and unfortunately, we've got to see whether Gabriel Hoffmann will have something to say, as he had a technical failure right on the start-finish line. So that's the first of multiple races completed here at Kerpen. So, danke für die Überblick. Wir werden uns sprechen über Minimax. Das kommt sofort, Max.
Ja.
So, next up, and obviously Max is up in the commentary box with me because he doesn't need to race this weekend. So, well done. Gut gemacht dieses Jahr. So, now the scrutineering phase gets underway. And they do have to adhere to the current regulations as per Club Sport technical regulations. And obviously, the race control might be a little bit busy looking into race events, as Max was just explaining for those that were listening, some of those our German viewers over there. Dankeschön für die Unterstützung dieses Wochenende und für die ganze Saison. So I will switch into German as much as possible, so hopefully Max is going to learn a bit of English from me here today, and it's really good to have him in the commentary box. And big props to our stream director. Good job as always, my friend. So that's the first of multiple races completed. For those wondering about the timetable, we're going to get things quickly underway because now we have Minimax, which Max Heiss has been competing in this year. So we have a 9-kart field, but it's still going to be as Dankeschön, Konrad Bayer, mein Freund. A good friend of mine who's raced the Euro Trophy and also the BNL Karting Series, not here today. Well, mate, I hope everything goes well. I'll see you soon. So, the grid is as follows. Austin Lee in the 114 is on pole position, with Lewis Heichel in the 177 alongside. And we've got David Schnell in the 104 and Mikko Mikov in the 102 alongside. Then we've got Jonas Ungneder in the 158 and Lewis Detting rounding out the top 3 rows in the 158 and the 155 respectively. Then Leandro Fischer in the 136, Julian Jungheim in the 124 and Kajus Rusevicius in the 109 rounding out the 9 strong. So they've gone on to the sighting lap. It's going to give the drivers, they've had some free training this morning, free practice this morning, just to get an idea of the conditions. The conditions were horrible yesterday. I was in at Rye House, where Lewis Hamilton started his career as an 8-year-old, and there was a deluge of rainfall, let me just say that much. But now this is how the young drivers really get themselves ready. So, Max, ein bisschen Überblick, aber was denkst du über, was passiert mit dem Start bei dem Formation Lab? Was denkst du, was ist im Kopf in diesem Moment?
Also ich hoffe halt, dass für jeden Fahrer gut ausgeht und dass der Start auch direkt gut erfolgt und in der ersten Runde, dass auch keiner rausgekickelt wird und dass ein faires Rennen wird und eigentlich keine Strafen geben muss.
Danke für die Überblick. So, the drivers very much in line astern, side-by-side formation as customary in Rotax racing circles. And some of the drivers are going to, try and get some warmth into the tyres. They'll start weaving from left to right. But sometimes it's not about just warming up the tyres. It's also getting the mental aspect of the start right. So it is Lee, Reichel, Schnell, Mikov, Ungnade, Dettling, Fischer, Jungheim, and Rudzevicius. That's the 9-strong grid here in the first of 2 mini-max races here at the RMC Clubsport finale here in Kerpen. So they now make their way into the tram lines. All looks to be a little bit squirrely there from Louis Reichel on the start. So that is a full start. That is a definitive full start because Reichel went to put the power down and nearly went Tokyo Drift through the tram lines and actually made a slight infringement. So the race director went, no, you're going around again. So as Max was saying, you know, it's just hope. They're just hoping for a really, really good start and that hopefully everything works out going into the first corner. And this is where that point of, you know, everyone says, well, when racing happens, the red mist comes down. That's very true, but it's about getting that clean start. It's about getting that grip. It's about getting that traction away from the line when you put the power down out of the final corner to get yourself going. So once again, it is Lee from Reichel, Schnell, Mikov, Ungnade, Dettling, Fischer, Jungheim, and Rudzevicius. As the second time around looks to be just as slow as the first on the formation lap, but it's going to help them a little bit. The track is still a little bit greasy. There is a dry line starting to develop on the inside of turn 1, going through the apex, but it's coming out of certain corners. If they're on the inside and it's greasy, it possibly might catch them out. So now we get going, hopefully for the second time this time around, here at Kerpen in the first of 2 mini-max races. Their one will be the one just before the lunch break, which takes place at around about 1:10 local time here in Kerpen. As we go underway once again, does it happen this time? Let's see. I think they might have let them go, but there is a straggler at the back, and that is the 136 of Leandro Fischer. So whilst the rest of the field looks like, I think that's Louis Reichel. Oh, we've got a spinner, and that is the 155 of Louis Dettling, who went spinning 180 degrees the wrong way and almost collected the 124 of Julian Jungheim. I see he's running on the Ralf Schumacher chassis. As the 136 of Leandro Fischer pulls off, and that is it. The 136's race is done, so we're down to 8 competitors. As the first 6 come through, and it's definitely getting a bit feisty. Oh, a bit sideways there for the 158. That was Ungnade trying to go up the inside. I think that might have been of Austin Lee, but as Ungnade went sideways going through the approach into the Schumacher chicane, but now has got the 102 of Miko Mikov for close company. That's the battle for P3 and P4. So already as Julian Jungheim, and we've got another spinner. That is the 140, that's the 104. That is David Schnell, and there was also, I think that was Rudzevicius that nearly went spinning in sympathy, but now that's allowed Louis Dettling to close up on them. So, Max, ein bisschen Überblick von dir über die Start dieses Rennen, mein Freund.
Also es war ja, der Start war am Anfang nicht so gut, da musste erst nochmal ein zweiter Start gemacht werden. Und der Starterfeld war schon am Anfang ein bisschen weit ausgezogen. Da habe ich noch überlegt, ob er überhaupt nochmal freigegeben wird. Dann wurde aber noch freigegeben. Und ja, jetzt probieren natürlich die Fahrer alles zu gehen. Hier sieht man auch gerade der Austin Lee. Ist hier ein bisschen ins Gras gefahren. Und ja, mal gucken, wie es sich jetzt im Laufe des Rennens noch entwickelt.
Okay, danke viel, Max. So the battle for the lead is a 4-way scrap, and it is being led by Austin Lee, who was getting a bit... having to fend off Louis Reichel, who I think has gone up the inside, or close to it. Let's see, Austin Lee still leads, but going very wide looks to be Miko Mikov in 4th position, going through the 180-degree hairpin after the start-finish straight. So it's a short blast down to there, and then it's a 180-degree turn to the right-hand side. Now they get into the sweeping parts of the track here at Kerpen. And you can just see how much Austin Lee is wrestling with the steering wheel. with Lewis Heichel just behind in second place, but Ungnada and Mikov can't be counted out on this particular occasion. It looks like Mikov's already up into P3. So Jonas Ungnada down into P4, but is close on the heels of the 102 as they come round through the Schumacher chicane. Oh, that was very, very testing indeed there from the 158 of Ungnada. Trying to go up the inside of Mikko Mikov through the final corner. The kart tried to sort of snap from the back end as it's just doing the same to Mikko Mikov going through the through turn 2. And it gets very technical here, very sweeping. So they're having to use a balance of throttle and steering to get the karts towed in. So Max, du hast an dieser Strecke gefahren, aber was ist seine Gedenknis über die Komposition für die Strecke hier in Kerpen?
Also die Strecke ist jetzt nicht keine einfache und also nicht so schwer und nicht so einfach. Halt im Regen auch ist es immer schwer, die Ideallinie zu finden. Es gibt viele Wege, wie man die fährt, aber oft sind es halt so, wie sie gerade fahren, fast die schnellste Linie und jeder probiert halt dem anderen abzugucken, wie man fährt, dass man halt schneller wird.
Okay, danke Max. So, 5 minutes to go, plus an additional lap. Austin Lee starting to stretch a little bit of an advantage now over Lewis Heichel to about 6.5 tenths of a second. Then it's down to Mikko Mikov, who's about a further 8 tenths of a second adrift. The top 4 now separated by just over 2 seconds, with Jonas Ungnada in the 158 rounding out the top 4. But David Schnell is getting a bit quicker now. Just keeping an eye on the lap times. A 58.9 and is actually the quickest out of the top 5. By at least 3.5 tenths. Well, he's 0.374 of a second in his best lap time than Austin Lee. And the slowest out of the top 5 is actually Ungnada in the 158. As they now come through to complete what's going to be the end of lap number 5 here, as Austin Lee again wrestles with the kart. It's not just him that's having to fend off the difficult conditions, as there is a distinctive dry line going through the Schumacher chicane. So Austin Lee looks to be getting a move on now. 1.2 seconds ahead of Lewis Heichel in the 177 in second position. Mikko Mikov still rounds out the top 3. And we're just waiting. Julian Jungheim now has crossed the start-finish line in the 124 in 8th position. Still putting in some consistent lap times, round about in the low 60, the mid 60 second bracket. So a 60.453 was Julian's lap time last time around. So again, it's a long blast. It's quite a long straightaway. So when they're probably pushing in the region of about 120 to 130 kilometers per hour at top speed, and that's quicker than the actual national speed limit in the United Kingdom. So Austin Lee was 1.2 seconds ahead of Lewis Heichel, but this time around it's been dropped. So Heichel was over 2 tenths. He's actually 0.208 of a second quicker than Austin Lee. Gap now down to just over 1 second. So Heichel definitely getting a motor on. And a little bit further down, I think I'm seeing that David Schnell is trying to close in on the 158 of Ungnada for what is effectively P4. So Austin Lee just really hustling the kart through the corners, trying to carry the momentum through. As we've got just 2 minutes and 20 seconds plus an additional lap remaining. Austin Lee again, when they come through the flat left after the long straightaway, before they head into the Schumacher chicane, he's nearly going sideways towards, so the back end of the car is stepping out to the right-hand side. He's having to use a bit of correction on the steering to do so. Let's see what the gap is now. Well, Austin Lee has responded. And just behind, it looks like that's probably going to be a 3-way scrap for at least, I think. So in the middle of all that is David Schnell, and it was nearly 3 abreast coming out of the turn 2 hairpin. So Max, noch ein spannendes Rennen.
Ja, finde ich schon. Also hier ist ja ein Dreikampf jetzt mit dem Kaius Rizevicius, Jonas Ungnada und David Schnell. Da kommt es jetzt natürlich drauf an, dass man sich gut absetzt oder dass man halt schnell vorbeikommt und den anderen hinten dran halt nicht vorbeilässt.
So ist dann ein bisschen hin und her. So.
Ja. Aber am Ende wird man ja dann sehen, wer von den 3 am besten war.
Okay, danke, Max. So just over 70 seconds remaining on the clock, plus an additional lap. Austin Lee trying to get the aerodynamics working as best he can on the kart. As he's now extended the gap over Lewis Heichel to what is now 1.728 seconds. So with the pace that he's been setting, he's been running, he's actually just put in the fastest lap of the race as the 104 of David Schnell is battling away with Jonas Ungneder. That is for 4th place, and it's fast becoming a 3-way scrap for that position with Kaius Rutsevicius, as there's another change there. That could have been, I think David Schnell's gone up into P4, possibly as they go through the sweeping lefts and rights here at Kerpen. So, Austin Lee and now Lewis Heichel make their way through the Schumacher chicane. And then just behind the 102 of Mikko Mikov, it's a 3-way scrap being led by David Schnell. So Austin Lee crosses the timing line with around about 10 seconds remaining, so it puts them onto the penultimate lap of the race. But this battle is just really, really enticing. This is for 4th to 6th place. So Ungneder is leading Schnell and Rutsevicius. That is 4th to 6th position. As Schnell goes a little bit wide there. Ungneder tries to respond, can't go up the inside or go towards the outside of turn 3. As Rutsevicius gets a little bit sideways as they go into these nice undulating corners here at Kerpen, and there's a cheeky little look up the inside of David Schnell by Jonas Ungneder on the penultimate lap of the race, but Austin Lee has got a comfortable margin. He goes through the Schumacher's chicane for the penultimate time. Now, could this be a move that could decide P5? Not quite yet. No, it does. It does, because it looks like David Schnell, I think, might have gone a little bit wide. Or was that Mikko Mikov, maybe? No, that was David Schnell that went wide, so that's allowed the 158 of Ungneder and the 109 of Rutsevicius to get past on the just as they cross the start-finish line to start the final lap. And Austin Lee leads by just over 2.3 seconds. As Schnell trying to get back past the 109 of Rutsevicius on the final lap as much, well, try as he might. And it could be very much a case of a dash to the finish. So Austin Lee comes through the left-hander at the end of the back straight for the final time through the Schumacher chicane. Comes the 114 of Austin Lee round the final corner. What a great job. Kept everyone at bay and takes the checkered flag with quite a comfortable victory ahead of Lewis Heichel. And the gap was 2.5 seconds at the end of that race. Nice work by Mikko Mikov, who just celebrates with one finger in the air. And it was a drag race to the finish for P4 between Ungneder and Rutsevicius, with the 158 coming out on top. David Schnell, after that mistake where he went over the dirt, unfortunately, put him down to 6th position ahead of Louis Detling and Julian Jungheim round out the top 8. But Austin Lee wins the first Minimax race here at the RMC Clubsport Finale here at Kerpen in Germany, just around about half an hour from Cologne-Bonn Airport. So Austin Lee wins in the 114 by 2.558 seconds. Lewis Heichel takes 2nd in the 177 ahead of the 102 of Mikko Mikov. Jonas Ungneder rounds out the top 4 after a great 3-race scrap between the 158, the 109 of Rutsevicius, who would end up 5th. David Schnell, having gone dirt tracking, would end up in P6 at the end of it all, with Louis Detling in 7th, Julian Jungheim in 8th, with Leandro Fischer now walking back to the paddock. Aber Max, das war eine gute Rennen.
Ja, war sehr spannend. Gab auch viele Kämpfe und am Ende auch nochmal gesehen, der David Schnell hat ja dann auch einen Fehler gemacht. Dadurch konnte ja der Jonas Ungneder noch auf 4 kommen. Und ja, war sehr ein gutes Rennen.
Okay, wir sprechen uns miteinander ein bisschen später heute bei der letzten Wertungslaufe bei der Mikro und der Mini. So, danke sehr. So now it gets on to the bigger classes. And next up we will have we will have 2 junior races in rapid succession, followed by senior club, senior national, and then we'll also have the DD2 and the DD2 Masters running together. For those wondering about the podium, if you're watching at home, the podium for micro and mini will be at 1:45 local time here in Germany, and then we'll have the final podiums at 4:30 this afternoon here in Kaupen. So all results are called provisional, pending any technical and sporting checks, and I know for a fact that Max definitely thinks, well, if I go through here, I know that if my kart's okay, I'm fine. No problem at all. So, ja. Was ist deine Gedenknis, wenn du nach dem technische Prüfung gibt, nach einer Rennen?
Also ich hoffe natürlich, dass alles gut ist und halt wir schummeln ja nicht, aber es gibt ja manchmal Sachen, da guckt man nicht nach und dann, dann wird man doch disqualifiziert oder so. Also es ist eine 50-50 Chance. Also manchmal ist es auch so, dass dann noch was ist, was man nicht gedenkt hat, aber sonst ist eigentlich...
Okay, danke Max. So, a nice little insight there from Max Hayes, who's joining me in the commentary box for the micro and the mini Max races. So a big thank you to everyone tuning in on the dedicated live stream provided by Camp Company GmbH, who also provide the live stream for the Rotax Max Euro Trophy, also the B&L Karting Series and RMC Germany. So still plenty of action. We will have the lunch break at around about, if memory serves me correctly, there we go, 13:25 local time, when we'll have the 13:25, and then 20 minutes later we will have the official podium for the winners of the weekend. So the Rotax Raw sort of goes a bit silent between races, and just for those watching on the live stream at home, they're weighing the karts, they're making sure that everything is technically fine in many sort of respects. So the drivers will actually stand on the seats in the karts or alongside the karts to make sure that the weight is how it should be, because over the course of the time of the race, the tyres and the fuel will also degrade and go lower. So the first race of the junior club division gets underway now here at Kaupen, and at the minute I'm just seeing that all bar one of the 15 competitors look to be on the sighting lap, and actually looks like, as I've just said that, the 253 of Nevio Fischer, who's starting on the outside of row number 3 on P6. So it's Leonel Langlotz, Alexander Kappa, that is the front row with Langlotz on pole. Finn Gruber, Mats Johan Overhoff, that is the 231 and the 265, that's row 2. Phil Vogel and Nevio Fischer, that is row 3, with Gregor Feigenspan and Maxim Blöscher, that's row 4, with Dennis Thiem and Variato Wildermann rounding out the top 10. Completing the 15 strong is the 233 of Janusz Tiak, the 286 of Luigi Gazzo, 277 of Jake Bezelbecker, 234 of Finn Stiak and Joni Mertz, and the 235 round out the 15 strong. So now it's time for a class that I hold dear to my heart in Rotax racing circles. I've always enjoyed keeping an eye on how the juniors get on, and this is a different experience for me, seeing both a club and a national category in a respective championship. So this is their penultimate race of the season, and we'll find out how things get on very, very shortly, as they now start to get into formation for their first of 2 races. Their second one will be at 2:10 this afternoon, local time here in Kaupen. Very nicely organised, a few stragglers at the back. So full yellow course condition, yellow flag conditions, as the 253 of Nevio Fischer, I think, should start from the back as a result of being late out of the dummy grid. So the 253 of Fischer got a lot of work to do from around 15th place as they go through the Schumacher chicane. So it's Langholtz and Kappa on the front row. Langholtz on pole. Let's see. The Rotax engines roar into life. Do we go lights out? Looks to be a clean getaway. Everyone makes it through the first corner. But no, they haven't. And someone's gone spinning into the barriers. Manages to rejoin. And because the grass is still very, very damp here, is pirouetting just on the outside of turn number 1. And that is the 255. And that is Maxime Blöscher, who's not best pleased about what happened. Didn't really catch anything, but might have just gone a bit wide because it was nearly 3 abreast going through the first corner. And it's quite a long sweeping one. So we've got 10 minutes and 24 seconds plus an additional lap left to go. So Blöscher's got a lot of work to do. Going to be interested to see where Neville Fischer ends up after lap number 1. But the battle for the lead is quite clearly on, as it is now the now is that's been a bit of a change there, because the field has gone a bit topsy-turvy, and leading at the moment is the 232 of Variato Wildemann. Alexander Kappa remains in second place. Leonor Langholtz has crossed the line in 9th, so there has been an absolute change all the way up and down the order. So probably out of the other side of the circuit, there's been a few comings together, or maybe when everyone went into turn 1, not everyone was probably in the position they preferred. And I definitely think that Langholtz would have wanted to have been still in P1, but Wildemann has just absolutely catapulted all the way up to P1 on this race. So they come through the left-hander, which puts them on the approach to the Schumacher chicane. And it is now a 3-way scrap. So Overhoff in the 265 is definitely trying to go up the inside. There's a little bit of argy-bargy, but Wildemann still holds on to the lead. It's absolutely going crazy, because now you've got Finn Gruber and Feigenspann in the 258, as someone went very wide on the exit of turn number 1. I think that might have been Feigenspann there, possibly. But then the lead change could happen, as it was nearly side by side between Kappa, who was trying to go up the inside of Wildemann for the lead. So we have 8 minutes and 43 seconds to go, plus an additional lap, as Wildemann still hanging on. And Maxime Blöscher just crosses the line and is quite a considerable amount behind the rest of the field, who are, with 14 competitors separated by 7.5 seconds on the last lap. The battle at the front of the field still rages on, as Overhoff was trying to look to be a little bit opportunistic after as the move for the lead has nearly happened, and they're all starting to trip over each other, as Kappa goes defensive on Overhoff, and now Vogel, as Phil Vogel in the 252 in P4, who's now ahead of Finn Stack. We've had quite a few other changes, as Luigi Gazzo now right down to P13, as everyone's just trying to wrestle past each other. Never mind the slippery, greasy conditions here. So 7 minutes and 50 plus an additional lap still to go, as Overhoff goes defensive on Vogel for P3. But Vogel's still on the back bumper of the 265. But they have also closed up on the dueling pair, which is Wildemann and Kappa. Now it is 5 drivers at the front of the field. So Wildemann, Kappa, Overhoff, Vogel, and now Finn Stiak now joins the party. As there's a move possibly for second, not quite. It's a bit greasy on that inside line. So when Overhoff tries to go through, and he's just lost out to Phil Vogel for P3 as a result of trying to go up the inside of Alexander Kappa for P2, and the change has happened for the lead. As Kappa goes up the inside of Wildemann. Wildemann now responds through turn 3, goes on the inside line, and doesn't quite make it through the pair of barging side pods. 6 minutes and 53 left to go, plus an additional lap. Now Vogel is running the back bumper of Wildemann, who is in second place now, having been deposed off of top spot. And now, great purchase from Vogel. He absolutely nailed the traction through that corner and slungshot past Variato Wildemann for what is P2, but it's side by side on the approach off of the back straight. Drivers getting sideways, nearly clattering into each other, and Wildemann gets a bit hindered there. So go through into the Schumacher S's. And at the meantime, there is one driver that's definitely losing out, and it is the 299 of Alexander Kappa, who's just been pounced on, and it was nearly 3 abreast through turn 1. And that was by Wildermann and Stiak. So Wildermann now back up into P3. 232 of Wildermann now drops down. I think that is Alexander Kappa just behind the 232. So that is for P4. As Finn Stiak now gets up into third position. But Maxim Blush is going to use this as a testing exercise, I believe, because the 255 is still circulating despite the first lap incident. But now in the meantime, Phil Vogel, who's got the lead, has started pulling away and was over a second away from Mats Johan Overhoff in the 265. And the gap now was about a second. It's now 2.7 seconds, and it is argy-bargy at the field from around about P4 onwards, well, P5, as Wildermann is now battling with the likes of Feigenspan, Fischer, Thiem, and Janis Stiak. So it's definitely getting a bit interesting, a bit feisty, a bit heated in close quarter combat. So we got to the half-time distance here. In terms of the timer ticking away, just under 5 minutes remaining plus an additional lap, and Kappa trying to fend off now Wildermann. I don't think is in fifth place anymore, as Phil Vogel is just cruising away and is probably in another district at this moment. Mats Johan Overhoff and Finn Stiak now will start battling away over second position, as Alexander Kappa is being pressurised by Feigenspan, who tries to look towards the inside of turn one and actually gets a great run of momentum through that first corner. And it's just a quick flat out right, as there's another change there, I think. But there are drivers just trying to get positions. The 231 of Finn Gruber battling over P9 with Nevio Fischer in the 253. That's been an interesting battle thus far. But at the minute, there are still battles to be raged and to be won here on the penultimate race of the Junior Club season, as the 265 of Mats Johan Overhoff is no longer in second place, now down in third as Finn Stiak gets past and there's more battling away now. It looks like Variato Wildermann now on, well, it looks a little bit lonely in fifth place in the 232, as there are yellow flags being brandished at turn number 3. There is a kart crabbing a little bit, or trying to get back onto the circuit, so someone's gone very, very wide and is going sideways on the slippery, wet grass before the double S's on the back part of the circuit. So we'll find out very shortly who that is, but the battle for second is not over yet. However, they are not, it seems like, even though they're battling against each other, Mats Johan Overhoff, who's now retaken second position from Finn Stiak, they've been battling away, but the gap was quite huge last time. And no, Phil Vogel. Phil Vogel was the driver that was beached on the grass, so Vogel drops it. And that means that Finn Stiak and Mats Johan Overhoff are battling over the lead of this race with just over 2 minutes and 22 to go, as Dennis Thiem in the 269 is battling away with the initial leader, Variato Wildermann, in the 232 for what is fourth place. Looks like Wildermann might have the advantage at the minute, or might not be the case, as Dennis Thiem, I think, looks to have gotten past. But the two leaders now, who's at the front? That is Finn Stiak. Then Gregor Feigenspan now has come into this, as they just literally bump their way over the curbs through the Schumacher chicane. And it's line astern between the two leaders. So Feigenspan gets a really good run on Finn Stiak, going down towards turn number 2. Has got the inside line, could outbrake the 234, does so. But then Finn Stiak responds on the switchback through the exit of turn number 2. So Stiak did a really good switchback there. Knew that the possibility that Feigenspan could outbrake him going into turn 2. But then Stiak just went, well, I'm going to go slightly wide. I'll get the better purchase coming out of the corner. And the switchback, as a result of it, worked. So now Stiak drops Feigenspan a little bit further. So we've got just over 60 seconds remaining, plus an additional lap left to go. So they cross the start-finish line. So this is probably going to be the, I think, this might be the penultimate lap of the race. Just depends on how many seconds it now takes them to get round as Stiak wrestles with the kart to keep it on the inside line through turn 2. Now into the left-hander at turn number 3 as Wilderman battling away, and that is with the 252 of Phil Vogel, who's recovered after that excursion on the grass through sort of looks to be probably, I would have thought, maybe say about turns 5 and 6 and 7, having put it on the grass earlier on. We've got just over 15 seconds remaining, and there has been another change. Now, I'm just keeping an eye there, as it's now Gregor Feigenspan in the 258 that's now leading. So what's happened to Finn Stiak? Down in second place, ahead of Mats-Johan Overhoff. So, last lap has been shown. Letzte Runde. And Feigenspan has a gap of just over 2 seconds ahead of Dennis Thiem. A little bit further down the order, Wilderman and Fischer were definitely battling with each other. So Fischer started on the last row of the grid and is now up to P5. Could make it P4 by the end of this race. So Feigenspan leads by about 2 seconds from Dennis Thiem. Mats-Johan Overhoff in P3 ahead of Variato Wilderman. Neville Fischer rounds out the top 5. So for the final time through the left-hander after the long back straight comes Feigenspan in the 258 through the Schumacher chicane for the final time. Round the last corner comes the number 258 of Gregor Feigenspan, who takes a very well fought for victory by just over 2 seconds from Dennis Thiem in the 269, and it was nearly side by side between the likes of, that was Nevio Fischer and Phil Vogel going side by side over the start finish line, and it was Vogel that lost out by, well no, it was Wilderman and Fischer. Wilderman and Fischer were separated by 25 thousandths for what was P4. So Gregor Feigenspan takes the win in the 258 ahead of Dennis Thiem in the 269 by just over 2 seconds. Mats-Johan Overhoff rounds out the top 3 in the 265 with Variato Wilderman in the 232, beating Nevio Fischer to P4 at the end of the race by just 25 thousandths of a second. They were just over 3.5 tenths ahead of Phil Vogel, who rounded out the top 6, with Finn Stiak in the 234 rounding out the top 7. Alexander Kappa in the 299 would finish 8th ahead of Janis Stiak, and pole sitter Leonor Langlotz, who rounded out the top 10. Finn Gruber finished in 11th ahead of Luigi Gazzo in the 286. Maxim Blöscher, Jake Bezelbecker and Jonny Mertz rounding out the 15 strong. So a very entertaining first junior club race. Their second one will start the afternoon's action, their second and final round, final race of the week end and also of their season will be at around about 10 minutes past 2 local time. So Max, was denkst du über dieses Rennen?
Das Rennen war auch wieder sehr spannend. Es gab viele Kämpfe und auch viele, zum Beispiel der Phil Vogel war ja am Anfang sehr weit vorne, aber ist dann leider ins Gras gefahren und ist halt wieder zurückgefallen. Und ja, am Ende hat der Gregor da gewonnen und fand es sehr gut, ja.
Und auch die Ergebnis für Nevio Fischer, der war am letzten Haier bei der Startaufstellung und es war eine Tragrace bis zum Ende zwischen ihm und auch der Variato Wilderman.
Ja, also der Leandro Fischer, der konnte nicht mehr dran fahren am Anfang und dann hat er halt probiert, am Ende nochmal richtig Gas zu geben und es war nach vorne gekommen.
Danke, Max. So, that means we are 3 races through with another 5 to go before the lunch break here at Kerpen. So we now come on to the national class, and there is a few familiar faces for me from the Euro Trophy. On pole position will be the 2:11 of Valentin Klus. Then it's the 2:13 of Enrico Förderer alongside on the front row. Then Lukas Scherbinskas in the 2:17 will have Farin Mega in the 2:45 alongside Linus Hensen and Leo Arndt in the 2:01 and 2:08. That rounds out row number 3. Noah Gabriel Vogler and Finn Zulauf in the 2:22 and the 2:47. That's row number 4 with Denny Bernd and Hannes Border in the 2:42 and the 2:06, rounding out the top 10. Corben Hillebrands in the 2:41, Dominik Reuters in the 2:20, Luca Kiefer in the 2:09, Noah Engler in the 2:03, Paul Koch in the 2:12, and Raffaele Basile in the 2:02 rounds out the 16 strong. You think that the club one, the junior club class race was a bit of a doozy. This one I think is going to do just the same here, because we have some drivers that have been competing both nationally and internationally in this class, with the likes of Klus, Mega, Scherbinskas, Hensen amongst others. So there is some definitive pedigree in this class here amongst with all the other competitors. So we are now trying to get them into formation, and that is definitely the most spread out formation, I think, as they're trying to get them to slow down. So we've got Klus on pole with Förderer alongside. So it's Klus, Förderer, Scherbinskas, Mega, Hensen, Arndt, Vogler, Zulauf, Bernd and Border. That is your top 10. So they come around the final corner. Looks like Raffaele Basili coming into position now as they let them go, as one's already pulled to the side, and that is the 2:13 of Enrico Förderer, who broke down on the line. And it looks like the chain is gone. Yeah, the chain completely slack. So the chain looks to have gone there. So they're just pushing the cart out of the way. So nice quick response by Camilla Hossinger and his team for getting the cart off of the circuit very, very quickly indeed to keep the action underway here at Kjærpen. So they're coming through the back part of the circuit now. As they go into the left-hander, which puts them onto the Schumacher chicane. Leading them is Scherbinskas in the 2:17. Looks like Linus Hensen, I think, judging by that colour scheme, is up into P2. Which is the case. So Scherbinskas, Hensen, Farin Mega now up into P3. Looks to be an overtake a little bit further down the order between 6th and 7th. Or maybe even make that 5th, as you've got. That is the 2:42 of Denny Bent. I think it's just gone up the inside into P5 through the turn 2 180-degree hairpin. So they're now starting to get to grips with the pace that they're setting at the moment. And Scherbinskas on the first lap put in a 52.950 as everyone's starting to squabble behind. As now Farin Mega has got past Linus Hensen for second position. Hensen goes wide and loses out. Now drops to 4th behind the 2:11 of Valentin Klus. And has got right on the back bumper Finn Zulauf in the 2:47. So Scherbinskas now. Oh, there's a little bit of sideways action there with Linus Hensen involved, and someone saying to him, "What was that?" But the thing is that Linus might have just outbraked himself there going into that hairpin. So if you try and go up the inside and try and do an imitation of Daniel Ricciardo, one of two things will happen. It'll work or it won't pay off. And for Linus Hensen, it's bumped him down out of the top 5. So Scherbinskas starting to pull away, but it's just dependent on how soon Farin Mega will pull the pin on the grenade and start chasing down the leader, as the triple two of Vogler looks to be now in what is 4th place and has got right behind the 2:06 of Hannes Border for close company. And they were separated by just 78 thousandths of a second going across line. More positional changes happening and that is for 4th and 5th place. So it looks like Border's done the move on Vogler through turn 2 at the hairpin. And looks like we've got another retiree as well, along with Enrico Föderer. We've got Corbin Hillebrands in the 241. Also not taking any further participation in the race, but the top 3 look to be a little bit closer now. And then if you look at where P5 is, there is going to be 6 carts squabbling over the 5th position on the circuit. So Scherbenskass's lead is being truncated by Mega. It was down to 1 second. It's now down to 4/10. So Mega and Zulauf now closing on the leader. Lukas Scherbenskass and Fahin Mega now really doing a great job of doing the right thing in terms of braking. As Vogler has one sent up the inside by Valentin Klus in the 211. Looks to be for around about 6th place. So we've got 7 minutes and 9 seconds of this race still to go. But Scherbenskass quickly coming under pressure from the likes of Fahin Mega and Finn Zulauf. And they are literally line astern, going through the left, heading into the Schumacher chicane. So Scherbenskass holding on, and both Mega and Zulauf look to be on the point of adhesion. It's Mega versus Scherbenskass side by side across the stripe. But Mega does the sensible thing there and pulls towards the outside, goes back in, now goes up the inside of Scherbenskass into the turn 2 hairpin. The 245 makes the move, but up the inside of the pair of them goes Finn Zulauf. Mega reasserts himself and regains the lead of the race with Scherbenskass just ahead of Finn Zulauf. So great battle at the front of the field. They were separated by just 0.185 of a second over the line last time around, and it's still not over yet by quite a long shot. But whilst they're battling, Hannes Border has been like the silent junior national assassin in this race, as Hannes is closing up on the 3 in front, as Fahin Mega now has the lead, and Scherbenskass goes side by side with Zulauf. Scherbenskass keeps the inside run through the corner. Zulauf could send it up the inside into the turn 2 hairpin. Thinks better off it, but this is allowing Hannes Border to close up. And Border put in the fastest lap of the race last time around, a 49.108. As Zulauf tries to go up the inside of Scherbenskass. I think that was probably through turn 6. So Scherbenskass definitely, well, as Zulauf gets a hit from behind, a slight hit from behind by Hannes Border. So Border's going to have to watch that, because otherwise if it's a drop down, it's an automatic 5-second penalty. So Fahin Mega continues to lead ahead of Lukas Scherbenskass. Then it is Finn Zulauf, then Hannes Border. A little bit further back we go, and it's Dominik Heuters in the 220 who's in P5, as Linus Henson and Valentin Klus were going side by side for position. It's all kicking off at the front as Scherbenskass now retakes the lead. Mega down into P4. Looks like Zulauf is now in. It was trying to go for the lead, maybe. So Scherbenskass holds on briefly, but he's not in the lead anymore, as it is the 206 of Hannes Border. Hannes Border now makes his way to the front of the field and leads a 4-cart squabble over what is going to be the victory here in this first of 2 junior national races. As now Fahin Mega gets past the 247 of Finn Zulauf. So Mega now up into P3 behind Scherbenskass, with Border now trying to pull away from the 245 and has done so to the tune of around about 0.6 of a second. And Hannes Border on the last, well, not the lap that's just been completed, but the one before, went nearly sub 49 seconds in the process. 4 minutes plus an additional lap. Running order is as follows. Hannes Border and Lukas Scherbenskass are leading the way, first and second respectively, closely followed by Fahin Mega, who has to put on the anchors quite quickly, as does Finn Zulauf, who rounds out the top 4. Then it's about 2.4 seconds back to Dominik Heuters. And then you've got Valentin Klus, Linus Henson, Denny Bount, Leo Arndt, and Noel Gabriel Vogler, who rounds out the top 10. Luca Kiefer, Raffaele Basili, Paul Koch, and also Noah Engler round out the 14 that are still circulating, with both Forderer and Hillebrands rounding out, the only 2 retirements as Mega goes up the inside of Scherbenskass through turn 2. Zulauf trying to pounce on the 217 as well. Has to slot back into position into 4th place. So Border, whilst the 3 are trying to battle behind, but Mega is now on level pace in terms of the lap times. As I've just had a look, that Farin Mega was only 22/100ths of a second slower than Hannes Border, but seems to have it hooked up in the fast momentum corners. And he is closing on the 206 as they go through the left. That leads them into the Schumacher chicane here before the final left-hander here at Kerpen. Mega was looking very close up the inside of Hannes Border for the lead. And Scherbinskas is pulling along Finn Zulauf for close company. And Zulauf goes towards the inside run on Scherbinskas for 3rd place into the turn 2 hairpin as Mega goes up the inside of Border to take the lead. Nice work by the 245, and it's nearly side by side between Zulauf and Scherbinskas. And Scherbinskas has to slot back into 4th place behind Finn Zulauf. I'm just keeping an eye on what's going on behind because Dominik Heuters has been getting quicker and quicker and was actually the 2nd quickest out of the top 5 and is only 2.2 seconds behind those in front. But as we've got one driver pulling into the pit lane there, unfortunately, that's Luca Kiefer. As now again, Border trying to slingshot his way past Farin Mega and is bump drafting Mega along and sends it up the inside into turn 2. So the 206 up the inside of the 245, but Mega's quickly on the switchback, bangs wheels there with the 206, and this allows Finn Zulauf to go up the inside of Farin Mega through the inside of turn number 3, which again puts the 247 in clear contention for the victory, along with the one in front and the one behind. So Farin Mega needs to get the bit between the teeth and get going and try to make sure that no mistakes happen. So looks like Hannes Border is back in the lead, but Finn Zulauf now up into 2nd position and has Farin Mega and Lukas Scherbinskas for close company as we go into the last 55 seconds plus an additional lap. It's now going to be a momentum drag fest down into turn 2 as Mega sends it up the inside, nearly clatters into the side of Zulauf there as Scherbinskas pounces and mugs the pair of them through turn 2 and makes the move complete by turn 3. Back into 2nd position goes Scherbinskas as Farin Mega loses out to P3 from Zulauf through turn 4. And now right behind them, they have got... Just keeping an eye there because it's quite interesting to see that who is... When people are battling away, there's always one that comes from a long way back. And that looks to be the 220. Dominik Heuters now is in with a chance of a top 3 finish. As Hannes Border crosses the line with a gap, an advantage of 1.5 seconds between himself and Lukas Scherbinskas. Finn Zulauf in 3rd. As Scherbinskas trying to battle away with Finn Zulauf for 2nd position. This is going to allow Farin Mega and also Dominik Heuters into this battle. So we're now on to the penultimate lap of the race, and Border is quite literally getting away from the rest of the opposition who are squabbling over the scraps on the dinner table. So Hannes Border this time comes through the flat left, which leads onto the Schumacher chicane for the penultimate time. As at the moment, Finn Zulauf is ahead of Lukas Scherbinskas, who is in turn ahead of Farin Mega. Now Dominik Heuters joins the party as Mega goes up the inside of Scherbinskas to take P3 on the penultimate lap of the final lap of the race as they cross the start-finish line. But watch out for Dominik Heuters. Reuters, I think, could be the surprise here. As Scherbinskas, and Heuters goes very wide and goes sideways, nearly going into the approach into the turn 2 hairpin. So that puts the 220 out of contention for at least a top 4 finish. So Border will come through the last part of the circuit very, very shortly. But it's the battle between Zulauf, Mega and Scherbinskas that is the going to be possibly a grandstand finish if Mega can get close to the 247, but doesn't look to be so. Probably about 5 kart lengths adrift as Hannes Border goes through the Schumacher chicane for the final time, round the final left-hander. What a drive from Hannes Border to take the opening win here today here at Kerpen, and takes it by 1.5 seconds as Finn Zulauf takes P2 ahead of Farin Mega in 3rd place. Lukas Scherbinskas, who led quite a big proportion of this race here, finished in P4 ahead of Dominik Reuters, who came to fruition in the latter part of the race, started making inroads in, but would ended up P5 at the end of it ahead of Valentin Klus. Linus Henson rounds out the top 7 with Denny Bount in 8th, Leon Arndt in 9th with Noah Gabriel Vogler in 10th position, Paul Koch and Noah Engler and Raffaele Basili round out the 13 that finished, but Hannes Border wins the first junior national club sport race of the day here in Kerpen by 1.55 seconds, and the finishing order is Hannes Border from Finsulauf, Farin Mega, Lukas Scherbinskas, Dominik Reuters, Valentin Klus, Linus Henson, Denny Bount, Leon Arndt, and it looks like Hannes Border is getting some congratulations in the pit lane at the moment. So Leon Arndt and Noel Gabriel Vogler ran out the top 10 ahead of Paul Koch. Noel Engler, Raffaele Basili with Luca Kiefer pulling it into the pits, as I just have seen Enrico Forder start pushing his car towards backwards down the start-finish line, with Corbin Hilbrand's kart now being recovered as the recovery vehicle is now out, going down through turns 1 and 2. So Max, noch eine gute Junior-Nationalrennen bei der Wertungslauf. Was sind deine Gedenknisse über das?
Also es war wieder ein sehr gutes Rennen. Es gab auch 3 Ausfälle, das war jetzt nicht so gut. Aber eigentlich war es ein sehr faires Rennen. Es gab auch viele Fehler von den Fahrern, deswegen haben sich auch vorne die Plätze immer von P1 gewechselt. Und es war aber ein sehr spannendes Rennen.
Danke, Max. So, that's the junior action completed for the morning. We'll have the second of the junior club races at 14:10 local time here. So 14:10 dieses Nachmittag bei der zweiten Wertungslauf bei der Junioren für Club und 14:31 bei der National für Junioren die letzte Wertungslauf der Saison dieses Nachmittag. So I will do my best switching between English and German as much as possible, which has just put a smile on Max Heiss's face, who's going to be providing some insight in the commentary box with me here today, as I've been drafted in last minute. But hey-ho, these things happen. And next up, we will have our first of 2 senior division races, the first one being the club entries. So we get to the first of two senior club category races, and your grid is as follows. On pole position in the 387 is Nico Kerch, with the 377 of Kim Leon Kublik alongside on the front row. Yannick Herman in the 399 and Bastian Balaj in the 393 round out the top two rows. Prabit Singh Baya in the 355 and Patrick Labouche in the 322. That is row number 3. Selina Schleicher in the 378 and Johannes Engelking in the 348. That is row number 4. Rounding out the top 10, it's Philipp Dreschler in the 356 and Flint Schniggenberg in the 382. Philipp Kessig in the 363. Niklas Schmitzek in the 361. Isabel Schäfer in the 357. Frank Weidner in the 388 and Max Busch in the 379 round out the 15 strong. So we have now effectively reached the middle point of the morning's action, with it set to carry on for another 4 races after this. So we'll have the senior national race, DD2 and DD2 Masters will be running together, and then for their first race, and then we'll have the conclusion of the season for micro and mini, and we will have Max Heiss with me providing some insight from his perspective, having raced in the categories over the past few seasons. So now they've just got to get the drivers to slow down a little bit. So it is Ketch, Kublik, Hermann, Balaj, Bauer, Labouche, Schleicher, Engelking, Dreschler and Schniggenberg. That is the top 10. So the Rotax engines roar into life. Do we go lights out? Looks to be a full start, possibly, because they weren't at full throttle going into turn 1, I believe. We'll see if things start ticking away. No, they don't. That was classed as a false start. So 14 minutes plus an additional lap for the first of 2 races for the senior club division. So it's time to reset. It's not the first full start we've had today, as we found out earlier on with the micros and the minis, but it just goes to show that the drivers are now going to have to make sure that they are in position, as the back part of the field looks to start getting in some sort of order, but the front of the field now needs to do so very, very quickly indeed. They come around the final corner having exited the Schumacher chicane. So the timer, I think, might have just started ticking away. That is the case. So they've let them have one full start, and there has been absolute mayhem in the middle. Several karts involved. One of them the 379 of Max Busch, the 378 of Selina Schleicher, who drops way down the order. So some drivers have made it through and got through the madness around them. So again, this track is still evolving. It's still going to be greasy in some points, as the first few karts come into my line of sight as they head towards the left-hander that puts them on the approach into the Schumacher chicane. And at the moment, I think that's Nico Kerch that is leading the race at the moment, as there's one driver not having a good run at all, and that is the 355, I think. That is Prabit Singh Baiwa, that went wide going into the Schumacher chicane. So at the minute, Nico Kerch, as we've had more comings together off of turn number 2, and one of them is Bastian Balaj, and the other one is the 377 of Kim Leon Kublik, who is now forlorn at the on the outside of turn number 2 at the hairpin. So again, the race takes another dynamic twist. So yellow flags will be exercised at turn 2, so no overtaking will be allowed as Isabel Schäfer makes her way through the sweeping lefts and rights here at Kerpen. So 3:87, Nico Couch continues to lead. Now, I've just seen something quite odd there. Now, who's running in second position at the moment? There was something that rolled off from the back of the cart, and that's the 399 of Yannick Herrmann. So, I don't know whether it was something maybe might have been caught underneath the rear axle. So, Couch leads. Yannick Herrmann in second. Flint Schniggenberg up into P3 now. Philipp Kessig fourth. Philipp Dreschler in fifth ahead of Patrick Labouche. Niklas Schmitzek, Balian Balage, Isabel Schäfer and Prabit Singh Bauer ran out the top 10. As Bauer goes up the inside of Schäfer there. Looks to be on the inside of turn number 4. So Couch leading as the battle for seconds now definitely raging on as Schniggenberg right on the back bumper of Herrmann going through the Schumacher chicane and tries to get a better purchase coming through the final left-hander. But the back end starts to sort of snake a little bit as Schniggenberg puts the power down. So Herrmann gets to pull away as Selina Schleicher and Kim Leon Kublik have both retired as a result of that first lap incident at turn number 2. So the fastest lap of the race so far is actually, well, the pace has been quite clearly set by the leader, Nico Couch. Couch in the 3:87 as the 3:22 of Patrick Labouche is right on the back bumper of Philipp Dreschler for what is 5th position. I'm just keeping an eye on what's happening now. Couch has lost that lead. That lead has absolutely been decimated. So has Couch had a moment. And the lead was 2 seconds. It went down to a 10th. And Couch now being forced wide a little bit by Herrmann as Schniggenberg definitely looking to capitalise. Has the ringside seat in 3rd place. And it is nearly 3 abreast coming out of the exit of turn number 4 into turns 5 and 6. So Couch still, I think, was leading at that last point, but it's just dependent on how quickly Herrmann and Schniggenberg will pounce. So Schniggenberg still in P3, Couch still leading and has started to regain some of that momentum in his favour. So Nico Couch still leads, Yannick Herrmann in second, Flint Schniggenberg in 3rd place. And we've had 3-second penalties issued because they were outside of the corridor. They were outside the tram lines on the start. The 3:56, Philipp Dreschler is the first one to be penalised. Niklas Schmitzek also penalised 3 seconds. 3:57 of Isabel Schäfer also gets a 3-second penalty. And then we've also got 3:79 of Max Busch. So all those drivers, because it was a start line infraction, you go outside of the tram lines, you get a 3-second penalty straight away. So it will be looked at from race control. So every single one of those 4 drivers will get a 3-second addition to their race time. So that will drop them down the order. Well, that will drop them down the order. So they'll get a 3-second penalty. The lead could be changing here. Schniggenberg's really been forcing the issue. Went up the inside of Nico Couch, who's tried to go back on the switchback offensive, but Schniggenberg keeps it planted on the outside of turn number 2 to take the lead. So nice work by Flint Schniggenberg, who now takes the lead of the race from Nico Couch. Yannick Herrmann still rounds out the top 3 with Kessig, Labouche, Drexler, Bauer, Balage, Schmitzek, Schäfer, Busch, Waldner and Engelking rounding out the top 13, still running. Between turns 4 and 5, but that's been quickly retracted. So Nico Couch gets the head down, tries to pull away from Schniggenberg. Well, Schniggenberg leading and pulls away from Nico Couch to the tune of just over half a second. Just had a quick look at Max Busch's left side bob. That is a bit up in the air, not tracking true as it should be. So it looks like there has been a little bit of damage sustained. So looks like it was Isabel Schäfer that had a little bit of a moment between turns 4 and 5. So Isabel now drops into P11. So quite a few dramatic twists, with the likes of Kublik and Schleicher being eliminated on the first lap alone, having only made it as far as turn 2. But Kaust is now keeping up with Schniggenberg and nearly went going up the inside of the 382 into turn number 2. Had a good run of momentum, did Kaust, but then Schniggenberg, I think, just had the advantage going into turn 2. It's definitely, there's been another change there. Schniggenberg no longer in the lead. It looks like Kaust has just made it through and has done so, but whilst they're battling, Anna Kaumann is still in the side seat in third place. So 6 minutes and 18 seconds, additional lap. Schniggenberg now trying to fight back against Kaust as they go through the left-hander, which heads them into the Schumacher chicane. Ran towards the final left-hander as Hermann looks up the inside of Kaust, of Schniggenberg there for second position, but loses a bit of traction, putting the power down. But then third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. It's definitely a battle royale. It's a four-way scrap. Philip Kessick leading that with Patrick Labouche in P5. Bastian Barlager in 6th. Ahead of Prabhat Singh Bawa in 7th position. And they were separated by just over half a second. As the 356, that is of Philipp Dreschler, who now retires. So there's been an issue with the kart, and that's put the 356's race to an abrupt end. And, oh no, problems for Nico Kaust. He starts losing power on the straightaway, and is constantly showing signs of frustration. So that's put him out of the running for the lead of the race. And now it's game on as Nico Kaust pulls to the inside off of the tyre barriers on the inside of turn 2. That's the race done for the 387. Throws the gloves into the race seats, completely frustrated about just what's happened. He was in contention for a victory. So now it is between Flint Schniggenberg and also Yannick Kaumann for the lead. You've got the likes of Keskik in the 363 battling along with the likes of Barlage, Labouche and Bawa so that's the battle for what is not the place. And the two leaders, Kaumann sends it from absolutely nowhere up the inside of Schniggenberg. Quickly tries to counter-attack but can't get back past the 399. So Yannick Kaumann now nips in front of Flint Schniggenberg for the lead of this race with just over 4 minutes plus an additional lap remaining. So is absolutely livid at the moment. I really feel for Nico at the moment because Nico was running in for the lead. Conrad Bayer, stop providing me with feedback, thank you. So at the minute, it's still getting very feisty out there between several of the competitors, especially with 2 three-way scraps. And there is a good one between Prabhat Singh Bawa and Philip Kessick at P5. The two leaders are into the second drift as Yannick Kaumann continues to lead from Schniggenberg in the 382. And whilst they have been, we've now got that, it is obviously the 4th out of 15 confirmed drivers that have retired. So Nico Kaust's vehicle will be recovered post-race as Schniggenberg goes up the inside, I think, of Yannick Kaumann. Might have made the move going through turn 1. Just out of my line of sight on the right-hand side of the commentary position. And they were just 10 thousandths of a second adrift. It was like literally line astern, side by side. So Hermann was trying to get past Schniggenberg now has the lead. So the moment the two leaders going into the Schumacher chicanes. So Yannick Hermann still leads from Flint Schniggenberg. So it was Hermann going up the inside of Schniggenberg. Schniggenberg now back on the counter-offensive. The pair again go side by side across the line with 2 minutes remaining, plus an additional lap. With 0.010, second last time around. This time 0.040. With Schniggenberg having to slot back into position behind Hermann. We've just over 1 minute and 40 seconds to go on the clock. And at the minute, the running order is as follows. So we've got respectively. Bastien Barlage in the 393 in third place. Patrick Labouche in fourth. Philip Keskik in fifth. Prabhat Singh Bawa in sixth place ahead of Max Busch, Niklas Schmitzek, Isabel Schäfer, Frank Weidner and Johannes Engelking rounding out the side of turn 2 on the 399, but how Yannick Hermann kept a hold of that is anyone's guess apart from the 399s. There is a bit of a gap, about 2 kart lengths between Hermann and Schniggenberg, with Schniggenberg looking a little bit more controlled and composed through the left that leads into the Schumacher chicane. But it is still, with 26 seconds to go, Yannick Hermann crosses line. This is now the penultimate lap. Rights around the other side of the circuit. The right-hand side of the commentary position. So Hermann leads as Schniggenberg has it absolutely pinned through that left-hander. So trying to keep pace with Yannick Hermann as they go around the final corner for the penultimate time. Last lap board is out. An unwanted departure thereof of Nico Kerst, which could have brought us a really great grandstand finale with a 3-way scrap for the lead. To start her final lap of the race. As it's very, very close indeed, but with a jump on the seat, Yannick Hermann takes the win. And great sportsmanship there between Yannick Hermann, who wins that race by just 0.217 seconds. Ahead of Patrick Labouche in the 322. Philip Keskik in the